name is Thomas, and today in this video we're going to be talking about the shape creation tools as well as the selection tools that you'll be using in Adobe Illustrator. To start off, we're going to start with the two main methods of creating shapes in Adobe Illustrator. The first one we'll talk about is the one you'll probably be using most, and that is the pen tool. Over on this list, it's the one that is a pen without the little curvy line next to it, like on the curvature tool. It is just the one that looks like a fountain pen. So with the pen tool, what you can do is you can click, and you'll see that a blue line appears wherever your cursor is. Now, if I were to just click and continue clicking, I could create a shape. So we'll bring it back. Just like in Adobe Photoshop, when your cursor has the little circle next to it, that means the shape is complete. So if I click, there we go, I now have a shape. And right now it's colored white, so we'll change that. So I'll come down here, I'll make it a nice blue, nice cyan color. So with this, I can just click around, and you'll see that it'll start filling in with color as you're clicking around. It's now selected, and with the pen tool, you can go to each of the vertice points, and you'll see that the pen tool now has a minus symbol next to it. What that means is that you can delete that vertex. So if I click it, you'll see that it's gone now, and the distance between this one and this one has been connected. I can do that with any vertex. I go here, 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 here. The other thing that you can do is add vertexes. If you go along any line, and you'll see that your cursor changes now to a plus sign, you can add a vertex there. So there we go, I just added one. I can add a few more. And we now have multiple vertexes down this line. And that can go for just about anywhere. You'll see that with the cursor in any other position, you have this asterisk, or the multiply sign, right next to the cursor. What that means is that it'll create a new shape there. And so if I start clicking, you'll see that a new shape, unrelated to the first one, is created. Now this method of clicking around is fine for creating shapes that are very angular and very geometric. But what if you need a curved surface? Well, if we go here and delete all of these and go back to our pen tool, say you need a curved surface. Well, you could go and click you could zoom in and click very, very tightly around, and that'll technically create a curved surface, but that's no good. That, especially once you scale it up, you start to see where the vertices are. So in order to create a curved surface, what you'll do is you'll click one point, you'll go to a different location, and what you'll do is you'll click and drag. And you'll see that the line is now curved, and you kind of have these two points rotating around the vertex. And these just detail how your line is being curved and to what degree. So if I hold Shift, I can have it snap to 45-degree increments. So if I want something that resembled kind of a circle, I can have it there. And there. And there you go. Now you got a half circle. And what you'll notice is that when you're working with the pen tool, when you click and drag, it won't go straight back to the angular point and click method. It'll continue on with a curve, but only for one. So if I say click here, now it goes back to the click around method where it's angular, where you can only make straight lines. If you want to continue making a curved line, what you'll need to do is click and drag in a different location, and you can try and match the curve. You know, it's not incredibly hard. That looks decent enough. But if you want a perfect curve after every line, what you'll need to do is click and drag for each and every one. And that includes the very last one. Now I've created this cyan blob, but all of the shapes are perfectly smooth. And again, with raster graphics, you can scale this up to infinity and beyond, and it'll look just as smooth from out here as it does from, you know, really, really close. That is a perfect line. So if we bring this back, so what if we don't want these curvy shapes? What if we want just simple stuff like squares, stars, diamonds, triangles? What if we want just super simple stuff? Well, we can go to these shape tools. Over here where this square is, it might be an ellipse, it might be a circle, but in most versions it'll be a rectangle. So if we click and hold this icon, you'll see that a drop-down menu pops out. What you have is various different shapes. So we have rectangle, ellipse, polygon, star, and line segment tool. So we'll start off with rectangle. Now rectangle is basically as simple as it gets. It is either a rectangle, or if you hold shift, square. And this is, you know, as simple as it gets. You don't need much more than this. There's not a whole lot you can do with this tool other than create rectangles and squares. If we go over to our ellipse tool, this is again pretty simple, about as simple as the rectangle tool. All it is that you can create either ovals or ellipses, or again, if you hold shift, a circle. And you'll know it's a circle because of these purple like crosshairs. With the square, it was a diagonal line. So we have a perfect square, a perfect circle, and an ellipse, and a rectangle. So what if none of these are for you? What if you need something else? Well, we have the Polygon tool. A polygon just means a shape with a number of sides. A square or a rectangle has 4 sides. A circle or an ellipse has infinite number of sides, but we won't get into that. But say you just want something like a hexagon. What you can do is drag, and you'll see that the shape is created. And right now, it's actually a hexagon right now, but, you know, say we wanted something with more or less sides. Say we wanted a pentagon. While you're clicking and dragging, while you still have it in this blue outline shape, what you'll do is you'll hit the up or down arrow. The down arrow for less sides, the up arrow for more sides. So right now, we have 6 sides. If we want a pentagon, which has 5 sides, we'll click once on the down arrow. And you'll see that we now have a pentagon. If we want something with more sides, say like an octagon, right now we have a pentagon, so 5 to 8, hit it 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and we now have an octagon. And if you hold shift, it'll snap to like an upright orientation, and it won't rotate. So no matter if I go around, it stays in place. In the same vein, the star tool is very similar to the polygon tool, except that it creates stars. This tool is also good for creating equilateral triangles, or triangles where all 3 sides are the same length. So right now we have an octagon. If we just hold the down arrow, you can see that it creates a perfect triangle. The next tool is the star tool, and it works very similar, in fact identical to the polygon tool. If you hold it, it'll create a star. If you click and drag, it'll create a star. Up arrow creates more sides, down arrow creates less sides, or I should say points. So right now we have 5 points, a 5-pointed star, a pentastar. But if we want something with 6 sides, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's a 10-sided star, we can have that. If we want to go all the way down to 3, that's again another equal length triangle. If we go to 4 points, it creates kind of a square, but like with the centers like squashed in. Pretty interesting kind of diamond shape. Great for making like stars, more like cartoon style stars. Same with these. Very versatile for the various uses. But say you wanted to edit these shapes. Well, what can you do? Well, you've seen me use these kind of as we were going through this tutorial. We have the selection tool and the direct selection tool. And the way to differentiate these two tools, they work in similar yet different ways. The selection tool on the left, this black cursor, what it does is it selects the whole shape. And what you can do is you can drag it around. You can rotate it if you put your cursor on the corners. You can rotate it, or you can scale it. You can use these dots on the side of the box around the shape, and you can modify its scale. The direct selection tool allows you to individually select different points. So if we have our white cursor selected, we can go to these individual points and make sure to click on it. So if we click, you'll see that the point we clicked is now in blue, while all other points are in white. And what you can do is you can click and drag. And you'll see that these blue lines are where the new shape will be. So if we let go right there, there's the new shape. If we select down here, there's the new shape. It's not as nice, but... And this is the basic method of how you're going to be modifying the shapes on your objects. These two tools will technically get the job done on just about everything. Everything that I've showed you can technically be done with just these 4 tools. So what more can we do? Well, with these blue dots right there, this blue and white dot, you can see that if I click and drag it, it essentially smooths out that point. That point is averaged out, and the distance between the two is the distance between that point, and this point is averaged out and smoothed out. We can now modify with these 2 handles kind of the shape of that. Or if we press Control Z a few times back to where it's pointy, see that we get it back. And if we want less curvature, we can do that. Or if we want all the curvature, you can see that once it reaches the maximum curvature, a red line will appear. This says you cannot average this edge out anymore. You can't smooth it out anymore. It's done. So all you can do is you can either bring it back towards the point to unsmooth it, make it more pointy, or you can just let go. And there it is, fully averaged out. Now when you do that, you'll get these 2 new points, these 2 anchors, and these anchors are defined by these blue dots. With these, you can grab these. Oh, I have both selected. If you just click one, you'll see that you have these new handles. With these handles, you can change the shape. Oop. And if I want it to dip down really sharply, I can do that. So now that we have these lines averaged out, what we'll do is we can modify the shape of that line. Say you didn't want it to be that smooth, but you also didn't want it to be, say you just wanted a different shape altogether. Say you just wanted something different. What you can do is use these handles. You'll see that most points don't have these, but curve points, sections that have curvatures in them, will have these 2 anchors. And coming out of these anchors will be a handle or 2. And what these handles can do is change the shape of the object. And you'll get used to how these anchors work as you use them more. But the important thing is that the further they are from the original point, the more dramatic the curvature will be. So we can see we have this new shape here. Instead of just the one line kind of arching from here to here, we have this dynamic wave, this kind of sine wave. That's really interesting. It creates a lot of interesting detail. Now, say we want all lines to be averaged out. Say we want this entire shape to be smooth. What can we do? Well, if we take our mouse cursor and we highlight, click and drag, if we highlight everything, you'll see that a lot of these blue dots start popping up. If we grab just one of those and we click and drag, you'll see that we can get new shapes. Now you saw that there were some red lines there. That's just the lock. That's again just the lockout saying you can't make, I think it was this curvature and then these curvatures here. They were just saying you can't average this line out anymore. However, there were other curvatures that weren't averaged out as much as they could. I believe this one was one of them. So what we can still do is we can grab this. Sorry, you have to select one of the anchors, drag that. Kind of have to drag mine off screen, but see, now we've maxed it out. And you can do this with every single one. But that'll do it for this video. In the next video, we'll be talking about this color panel and kind of how to understand this color panel. It'll be a super short video, but until then, I'll see you in the next one. You have a good one.